Welcome to Biomechanics on Our Minds. My name is Melissa Boswell.
And I'm Hannah O'Day, and we're PhD students at Stanford University.
This podcast is brought to you by the International Society of Biomechanics.
It's
time for Boom.
Welcome to Boom, where we have
Biomechanics on our minds.
Boom.
Boom.
Boom, boom, boom.
Boom, 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 boom.
Boom.
Welcome to Boom.
Hey everyone, it's Hannah,
And Melissa.
and we're here for another episode of Boom.
The big 23.
Wow!
Can you believe it?
I feel like that's a scary number in some movie.
Well, it's November now. We're not scared anymore.
No more scary Boom, thank the good powers that be.
But we do have a scary, awesome episode.
Oh, it's terrifyingly great.
Such a fun time. We talked to Blake Leeper, who is an 8-time Paralympic track and field international medalist, and right now he's fighting to compete in the Olympics. So we get to hear about his story, and he is just super inspirational. And then we got to talk to another super inspirational person, Lasse Madsen, and he is an athlete and an author, and also a lower limb amputee. Yeah.
Is one of
the most inspirational episodes, that's for sure.
Yeah, really. So if you are feeling any kind of lows right now, just get ready to be boosted through the roof.
Oh my God, I can't laugh.
Melissa's a little sick, so
Yeah. So I try not to laugh because then it turns into a hack.
it's okay. So then
I sound even more raspy than normal.
So we're going to go with extra dad jokes today.
Yes, because then I won't be laughing.
Exactly.
All right, but first we'll do a quick bit of boom.
Bit of boom. Bit of boom. Bit of boom. Bit of boom.
So for today's bit of boom is especially relevant because Veterans Day just passed, and we wanted to find a bit of boom that sort of gave tribute to the people who have served to make our lives better. And so this specific bit of boom is from the Journal of Biomechanics. It came out in October, and the title is "A More Compliant Prosthetic Foot Better Accommodates Added Load While Walking Among Service Members with Transtibial Limb Loss." So it's extra relevant because we're talking
specifically for service members.
Yeah,
that's
exactly. And so basically what they found is that, and we don't necessarily talk about it in our interview, but I think sort of a theme in prosthetics and in biomechanics is that selecting an optimal prosthetic foot is actually challenging for especially highly active individuals with limb loss, such as military personnel who have a really large variety of different tasks that they need to perform.
Right.
And some require actually external loading. So this study specifically looked at both loaded walking and unloaded walking.
So loading as in they walked with weighted backpacks or weighted vests or something?
Exactly. They walked with a 22 kilogram weighted vest. So it's 44, 50 pounds, something like that. And they had 2 different walking speeds, and then also completed a subjective questionnaire about whether the participant liked the prosthetic foot, whether it was compliant or stiff.
Yeah, I like that. I like when they include the subjective questionnaires too.
Yeah, because it really matters if the person actually likes it, right?
Exactly.
Not only is it affecting some biomechanical parameter, but how do they feel with it on? And so the study found that with the compliant foot, there were actually a 68% increase in prosthetic push-off. And there were a number of other biomechanical parameters that were, quote-unquote, better with the compliant foot. Mm-hmm. And that, along with the subjective questionnaire that showed 10 participants out of the 14 that were tested actually preferred the compliant foot, gave way to their conclusion that a more compliant versus stiff prosthetic foot actually appears to better accommodate walking, both with and without the added load, and reinforces the notion that mechanical properties of prosthetic feet should actually be considered for performance and as well as joint health overall.
That makes sense. I guess it's, compliant versus stiff. It's like, it's hard to know, like, whether they were, where that line is drawn, I guess. Mm-hmm. So it's, like, very general, I would say, to, like, just have, like, more compliant. But, I mean, it's good to know, but to also just, like, do that comparison on an individual basis to see, like, what works for people. But maybe this is, like, a good starting point to go off of and then kind of fine-tune from there.
Yeah, and they do, put quotes around compliant versus stiff.
Well, if you want to learn more about this study, you can. What journal was it published in?
The Journal of Biomechanics.
So the Journal of Biomechanics in October of 2019.
So if you want to find out more, go to the Journal of Biomechanics, and you can look for the first author is Barry Schnall.
Let's get it started with our interviews.
Sounds great.
Hi, everyone. It's Melissa and Hannah, and we're super excited to be talking with United States Paralympic athlete Blake Leeper.
Woohoo!
Thank you.
Blake is an 8-time Paralympic track and field international medalist, world record holder, and 3-time American record holder, and hopefully an Olympic athlete in 2020.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us. You said you already had your workout into this morning, so that's pretty impressive. It's pretty early.
Yeah.
The Olympic build-up year, we're 10 months out from the Olympic Games, and, I'm in a position where every day does count. And I knew I had this interview, and I was excited for it, so I had to push my workout up a little bit earlier. That's my requirements, and my coaches and my teammates, and we made a promise to each other is that we understand that we have to, go out there and do media and do stuff and kind of push the sport and the brand. But the first comes first, and that is the workouts, and that is the training and the consistency of trying to better yourself on and off the track, really.
So just out of curiosity, what does that training look like? What did you do this morning, and how much does it differ every day?
Yeah, given the part of we are in the season, we're kind of just jumping back into fall season, trying to get back in shape. So, as a track and field, my specialty is the 400 meters. It is a sprint distance, but we don't sprint every day. There's levels and different bases that you have to start from ground zero and kind of work on endurance. So for today, it was like an endurance day. I did a couple of, actually, when I say a couple, 6 to 7 500-meter runs, just kind of keep the rhythm going. Nothing crazy, but it's just, getting through the reps and making sure that when I am fatigued, because I will get tired during a run like this, that I keep my form. And, it's hard to think that, we're 10 months away from, for me, probably one of the biggest races of my life. That would be the Olympic Games in Tokyo 2020. But the work starts today. And as I've kind of progressed in my career, I've realized that you have to put the work in today to be prepared for months and months in advance. And so that's where this actually workout is just as important or even more important than my last workout going into the Olympic Games. So that's my mindset and the attitude and the perception that I have when I'm attacking and trying to keep that motivation when it's cold and it's early and nobody's out there on the track and I'm the only one out there. It's tough. But I kind of keep, the goal and the mission in the forefront of my brain, saying that I want to qualify for the Olympic Games. I want to make history by being the first double-leg amputee American to do this. So
that's so exciting. So how do you feel like your training as a para-athlete differs from other athletes?
I mean, honestly, when it comes down to the basics and the foundation, it doesn't. People kind of ask that question. Of course, I make a few modifications throughout certain workouts that kind of helps me with my balance or maybe with my stability or, just whatever, just to get the workout done. But at the end of the day, and I train alongside Olympic able-bodied athletes that some have gone to the Olympic Games and some broken world records and some have won Olympic gold medals, and whatever they do, I do. And that's the mindset that I've always had, not only on the track, but just my whole life. I remember when I was younger, I was about 9 or 10 years old, and I had a new basketball coach, and my dad pulled me to the side, At 9 years old, he told me, Blake, when they tell you you don't have to run or do extra reps or runs during practice, because he couldn't coach me no more, he told me this new coach is going to give you the easy way out. And when he does, don't take it, right? You finish every rep, every run, like every able-bodied kid out there. And at 9 years old, I really didn't understand. I really understand my disability.
I don't really want to run.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, Dad. I'm just a kid. But cool. But like lo and behold, 2 to 3 weeks later, we was in practice and we was down to the last suicides at basketball practice. And the coach called me out and said, Blake, you don't have to do this one. You're good. And I kind of stopped and I kind of looked around and trying to analyze the situation and realized that he was giving me the easy way out because of my disability. And it just as I was about to kind of walk off to the side, I remember that conversation that my father had with me. And this is when I was 9 years old, saying that you never take the easy way out. Whatever the rest of your competitors do or your teammates do, you do that. And so I finished the workout, and that's been my mindset even now as an adult trying to qualify for the Olympic Games. Whatever my teammates do, I'm going to do. There's no excuses. Just because I'm missing my legs or just because I have a disability, that does not define who I am. And I don't like to put myself in this box saying, well, I am missing my legs, so I'll sit this one out. Or, well, I am disabled, so I won't have to run as hard or do this rep. And the reality of it is, if I take that route or that mindset, I'm just hurting myself. So surrounding myself with some amazing, outstanding Olympians and coaches, weight room coaches, track and field coaches, and people in my life that really push me and expect the best out of me.
Yeah.
That reminds me, there's a pretty famous climber who's also an amputee, and she always gets the comment from people like, oh, well, if you're climbing, I guess I don't have any excuse not to be. And she's like, you never had an excuse in the first place. So
right. People kind of use that and they look at my situation. And I tell people all the time, my biggest disability is not the fact that I'm missing my legs. My biggest disability is what people assume that I can do because I'm missing my legs. Just because I've been an amputee my whole life, they just assume my life has just been terrible, or they just assume that I've struggled my whole life. And I have my ups and my downs. Don't get me wrong, and I've had my tough times, but the perception and the perspective that I have on my life is that I'm blessed. I'm thankful. The fact that I was born without legs has shown me that I'm a fighter. The fact that I was born without legs showed me my true inner and outer strength. Just showing that even though I was facing with this adversity or challenge, I was still able to find the tools and ability to overcome that. So when you look at it, that situation, then that's actually a blessing. It's actually a good thing. So it's just really the taking that perception and perspective on your life and knowing that you have control over that and kind of manipulating that and maneuvering it to where it plays in your favor, to where whatever trial or tribulation that you may face, you can still kind of find the beauty inside of it.
Wow, that's beautiful. And like you said something interesting there in that the disability is really in how people perceive your abilities. And I think that's interesting in the context of what we talked about with Elena Grabowski on our last episode, actually, in that you've applied to compete in the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, but that application is currently under review because you actually have to prove that your prosthetics don't give you an advantage. So you're sort of on the flip side where people are actually questioning whether you're being enhanced. So there's a lot that we could go into there, but why don't we start with what it means to you to be able to compete in the Olympics and how you've sort of dealt with this whole process that you're going through now?
Yeah, just the situation that I'm in now, just kind of this, I wouldn't say a battle. I would say right now it's a conversation with the Olympic Committee as they're reviewing my legs. Of course, Dr. Grabowski worked on the technical report to send into the Olympic Committee, and we're actually in that process as we speak. So I literally can hear back any day now. Hopefully when we get back with this interview that I'll get an email from the Olympic Committee, but I doubt it. But so they're reviewing my legs to, and of course, my goal is trying to qualify for the Olympic Games in 2020. And when I say that, I've competed in the Paralympic Games, but I'm trying to compete against the fastest runners in the world, legs or no legs, whoever it is. I want to line up and prove to them that I'm just as good and I can be the fastest man in the world. Last year in 2020, or this year in last season, 2019, I actually broke my world record in the 400 meters, and I ran 44.38 seconds. that which qualified me for the world championship team this year, able body. And I took 5th at nationals, and that put me 6th in the world at the time, which is kind of cool, which is pretty cool to say. Like, these past 2 years, my times have been top 10 in the world. Which is crazy to think that the day that I was born, the doctor said I'll never walk, and here I am, competing on the highest level. But as I'm trying to compete on this highest level, and I've put my blood, sweat, and tears day in and day out, just overcoming so many adversities on and off the track, and then I finally get to this level, this see this time or this competition to where I feel like I've worked hard to be here. And then once I kind of output the times that me and my coaches and my teammates expected, like, it wasn't like, of course, when I broke the world record, I was excited and I was shocked. But at the end of the day, I expected it. I worked hard for it. I put the work in. And finally, when I get there, and then for the, Olympic Committee or, the IAAF to say I have an unfair advantage because of my prosthetic devices, it's just, it's wild. It is wild.
It's like, so hypothetically, let's say like they determine that you do have an advantage with your current prosthetic. Like, could you not just like have a pair made that's like a little bit worse? Like what is it's kind of like a weird line there. Like, what would?
Yeah, well, that's where it kind of becomes the gray area, because the burden of proof is on me, the athlete, and not the federation anymore. So I have to prove to them that I don't get an unfair advantage. But at the end of the day, like you said, I love that idea, and that's something I've been kind of standing by, is like, I have nothing to hide. I've been running on the same prosthetics that's kind of been around for the past 10, 15 years. The question is, what does it look like? What is it going to take? For the committee or the public or the community to feel comfortable enough for me to compete at this highest level. Because at the end of the day, I just want a chance. I just want a shot to be able to step on that stage and to be able to call myself an Olympian. And how powerful could it be if I was in the Olympic Games and they highlight me and not me, Blake Leeper, just my story of the fact that I was born without legs, and now I'm competing to try to be the fastest man in the world, and the doctors told me I would never walk. Imagine how impactful or inspirational that could be to the next generation of kids that's maybe disabled, or maybe dealing with depression, or maybe dealing with a situation or issue, thinking that they're less than, and they see me, they see my story and say, wow, Blake did it. Blake, the odds were against him, and he fought, and he was able to overcome. So if he can do that, imagine what I can do in my life.
That's really beautiful.
And that's my message. Yeah, that's my message. If I was born without legs and I can run in the Olympic Games, imagine, even though you are disabled, even though you come from a broken home, even though your parents may be divorced, even though you was abused as a child, even though whatever the situation may be, I was able to overcome this. So imagine what you can do with your life.
That is so beautiful and inspiring, and I think you have like a greater understanding or picture for what it's not just about you, like, and I love that you sort of exude that in how you're speaking with us today.
Yeah, and then that's one thing I realized is, as I was, trying to, on the rise of trying to become faster and get my world rankings up, and realizing how bigger this, like, the faster I became, the bigger the battle became. And the faster, more I started winning, the more the letters and the back and forth with the committee started going. And it was like, it hit like a light bulb to me. I was like, wow, this is way bigger than me. This is way bigger than me. So with that being said, I have that mindset. For example, the fact that I missed world championships this year, right? I should have been in Doha competing, but unfortunately I wasn't able to go and compete. So I had to watch it on TV and see the guys that, that was in my spot, or see the spots that I would have been in, and seeing the medals that I could have won, and the records I could have broke there in Doha, making history. And I tell people, one of the hardest workouts I've ever had in my life was that next day when I knew I couldn't go to Doha.
You've been an inspiration, though, for so many people, both para-athletes and able-bodied athletes, and even people who aren't athletes. Who has been an inspiration for you? I know you mentioned your dad a bit growing up. Who's really been that person that you've looked up to?
Yeah, I would definitely say my father and my grandfather and my older brother, Chris, has been a huge inspiration. Just, some really strong family members, men and women, my grandmother, my mother, my aunts in my life. But you always grow up with that one celebrity like hero as a kid, growing up. And mine was actually Bo Jackson. And I love Bo Jackson just because, he was one of the greatest football and baseball players ever to play, but his career was ended short because of a hip injury. And this is back in like the, late 80s, early 90s. He actually got a full hip replacement and got a prosthetic hip and actually rehabbed and battled back to play in the MLB again. And as a kid growing up with prosthetics, and they're highlighting this and showing and it's showing this man that's just now became disabled and how he battled back and fought. And for me, I was only 4, 5, 6 years old, but the only thing I heard was prosthetic, and I was like, wow, if he can do it with a prosthetic, then I can do it with a prosthetic. So I fell in love with Bo Jackson. I would even tell people to call me Bo, which is pretty cool because years later, I actually got to meet him when I was like 6, 7 years old, and then 13 years later, I got to meet him again when I was in my late teens, early 20s. He surprised me on the Arsenio Hall show.
Whoa!
Oh my gosh!
He came out and he brought my blades out, and that was one of the first times I actually got to thank him, for fighting, because a lot of people see his career as like, wow, how tragic his situation is because he was injured and he could have been the greatest of all time and he could have broke all these records. But I look at his situation like, wow, I thank you for fighting. Like the fact that he endured that his tragedy and saved my life and gave me motivation and hope to keep pushing on.
Wow, that's amazing. And that you got to meet him. Like that's like every kid's dream. And
yeah, right? Adults too. I was an adult and I was almost in tears. So.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. Have you would you say you've always had this like sort of strong mental toughness that you talk about, or do you think it was mainly inspired by Bo, or like where do you think that really
honestly
came from?
I would say I've just been blessed and thankful to be surrounded by strong people in my life, like my mother and my father from day one, to instill in me that, Blake, whatever you go through in your life, you got to keep a positive attitude regardless of the trials and tribulation. You got to keep pushing forward. Like that was instilled in me from day one. Blake, even though you are disabled, it doesn't make you different. But the reality of it is it's been the adversity that I faced in my life. I think back when I was playing T-ball one year and I wanted to hit a home run this one T-ball season, for my teammates to be accepted. My dad was a third base coach. So, they not only told me I would never walk, but they told him. And, I go up to the plate and, I was like 4 or 5 years old and, I take my 3 practice swings and on my third swing, I hit the ball as far as I can. And I start running to first base and on my way to first to second, I'm seeing my teammates and my father jumping up and down. They're so excited for me. But on my way to second to third, my leg falls off, right? Boop. Eat dirt, right? The kid comes over, tags me out. The inning is over.
No.
I know, right? It was just it was terrible, right? I don't know why they tagged me out, but it was terrible. It was right, and
I bet he was that day.
I'm sure he went to a couple therapy sessions for that one. But on the days as I laid there, one leg on, one leg off, I can remember just like being mad at the world and just like mad at the situation and just like mad at life, not really understanding like why I'm going through this. Like everybody on my team has their legs. My mom, my dad, my brother, they have their legs. Like why, like, kind of questioning it, like why me, but as I got older and in that moment, everybody picked me up and dusted the dirt off my back. But more in trial and tribulations that I faced, I realized I was asking the wrong question. I was kind of trying to blame fault and blame life and blame others. But the reality of it is, I had to take responsibility and say, you know what? It's nobody's fault but this is life. And the fact that this is life, I got to flip it. I got to reverse it. Instead of saying, why me? I start saying, well, why not me? I'm meant for this. Or why not me? I'm strong enough for this. Or why not me? I'm smart enough for this. And just like all these trials and tribulations that I've been through in my life, I kind of came to this place of acceptance. It's saying that it's happening to me for a reason. I'm in the right place at the right time in the right moment for the right thing. And that whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, I have to embrace it and accept it. And the more, because every issue or trial or tribulation I face, guess what? I got through it. regardless how hard it was, I became stronger from it. So all those failures and shortcomings and being less than and, missing out just barely, like those are actually is what built my character. One of my favorite quotes is actually from a Rocky movie. He said, life is not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. It's about how hard you can take hits and still brush off the dirt and put your legs back on and keep pushing. And I think by those adversities has allowed me to build that character, not only to become an Olympian, but hopefully to be successful in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you're kind of saying like your focus right now definitely has to be like a lot on the Olympics, but you're kind of mentioning a bit of a vision after the Olympics in terms of just living a successful life. What does that look like for you?
Oh man, that's actually a good question. I'm 30 now. I'm getting so old, right?
What? That's not old.
My career is coming to an end. I want a retirement party with like Boys to Men playing in the back. You know what I mean?
Yes, Boys to Men.
To say goodbye as I take my last lap around the track. No, I'm joking.
Only if we're invited.
Music.
I don't know. I have a couple ideas to where I want to maybe get into some coaching. Right now I'm also doing some motivational speaking. Where I go around the nation and talk to kids and corporations about my story. And I love doing it. It's one thing doing it after your career, but I'm living it right now. So my story is developing day by day, and I love speaking about it and talking about it because I'm in this realm of the unknown. And I like to tell people, even though I'm in the realm of this unknown, I still have the faith. I still have the belief, and I still have the willpower and the strength to keep pushing it and fighting, and to see the vision, to know that I'm still going to be in the Olympic Games. And they're trying to embrace that message and to push that out there into the universe. But whether it's commentating, coaching, managing, teaching, at the end of the day, I do not know. But I know one thing for sure is that I want to be an ambassador for the disabled community, and I want to be a valuable person and hope and inspiration, whatever platform my life may direct me to, or I may end up in. Well, I don't know, politics, whatever it may be. I have no clue. I know one thing, and that one thing is I want to be an ambassador for every disabled child, human being that's being discriminated against, to say, me too, I have been discriminated against as well, and we're fighting the same fight.
Wow. I mean, this whole conversation has just been so amazing. I feel like I don't have good enough words to come up with to answer the things you're saying, but maybe that's just it. Maybe there aren't, because you really are. I think you already are an ambassador. You've already done so much, and it's really amazing that you're using your story to help other people. And really make it like we said earlier, it's bigger.
Yeah, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful for the opportunities and just the ability and the talents and the blessings to to have the life to be able to do this. But the sad part that I come to realization every day is that even though I could I might be an ambassador now, or I'm trying my best to kind of cross over to shed light into this awful situation of how the disabled human beings are being treated, and the reality of it is it's still awful. Like, we're still not there yet. There's still so much more change that needs to be done. There's still so much more conversation that needs to be had about the disabled community of, not trying to save these individuals, but how can we embrace them and help them and challenge them to be the best person they possibly can be, and see past the fact of their one physical disability. Like, that's what I tell people. I have 2 disabilities. Yes, I cannot deny that. But I have 1,000 other abilities that make me a special person. I have 1,000 other abilities that allows me to wake up each and every day, to put a smile on my face, to go to the track and train and challenge myself. So instead of kind of letting that one disability run your life, or run that perception or perspective on that person, let's really dive in and take a step back. We'll dive in, but also take a step back to kind of look at all the 1,000 other abilities that they have that makes them a special person.
Yeah, like focusing on our strengths.
Exactly.
So we usually like to ask people we're interviewing what they're most excited about for the field of biomechanics, but I think for you, we'd love to know what you're most excited about for the future of para-athletics. And I think you've talked a lot about the changes you've gone through and excitements you've had in your life and inspirations, but really what are you excited about for the future?
Yeah, with the future, especially regarding with the Paralympics, I'm just excited for the growth. Just on on the marketing side, on the media side, on the athletic side. If you look at Paralympic Games, the times that are being ran right now are extremely fast, from amputees to blind runners, cerebral palsy runners. So disabled athletes are developing and getting stronger and getting in a better understanding of their equipment and the type of disability that they have and how to enhance that to where, hopefully I hope in the future, my goal and my vision is that one day the Paralympics will be just as big or even bigger than the Olympic Games.
Like, he's really fast for a para athlete to just like, he's a really fast athlete.
He's a really fast athlete. And that's what I try to tell people. Don't see the disabled athlete. See the athlete that just so happens to be disabled. And I hope people can identify the difference of saying he's an athlete first. He's an athlete first, and then he has a disability. And once people realize that, and one day people are going to realize the stories and the marketing and the things that gets people interested of that tragedy to triumph. All the greatest stories in Hollywood are tragedy to triumph, the underdog. All the underdogs are in Paralympics. Every Paralympian has an underdog story. Every Paralympian has an adversity that somebody can relate to, whether it's them or their mother, their father, or their cousin or brother. They say, wow, they went through that, so I can tell them about that hope and inspiration. And they're on the track running, or they're on the volleyball field playing, or whatever it may be. And once we kind of understand that and dive into all the amazing stories in the Paralympics and the disabled athletes, man, the possibilities are unlimited.
I think recognizing like that we all carry something is very human. It's just that some might be more visible than others.
And that's what I tell people, regardless, like the fact that I'm missing my legs, or the fact that you're dealing with something internally, to overcome that challenge. It maybe look a little bit different. The adversity maybe look a little bit different, but the characteristics to keep fighting and to push through, and the mindset that you have to have are the same characteristics that I have to have. Right? Whatever challenge that you have to have, or to overcome it, those characteristics are the same. So we can find a common interest if we just kind of find that base of saying you are fighting right now and I'm fighting right now. So we're both fighting right now.
Well, if people listening want to continue to follow you and follow your story, how can they do that? How can they find you?
Yeah, of course, I'm uploading all kinds of videos of just like with my training and my exercises and stuff I do daily on my Instagram, and that's Leepster, LEEPSTER. And I have my website is leaperruns.com. That's leaperruns.com. And then after that, of course, I'm kind of working on my YouTube channel right now. I'm trying to I'm looking for all kinds of ideas to kind of do with some crazy stuff with my legs. So if anybody has some stuff for me to do on my YouTube channel, I'm all ears. I'm working on it.
You might regret it. We might come up with some crazy
I think
things.
Just you wait.
I am open to anything. And so I'm really trying to build that platform. And I just got a pretty cool video on YouTube. It's called Let Leeper Run. So it's actually pretty cool. It's a really good shot that I shot with this editor director out in New York, Lorenzo, and he came together, kind of knew some of the stuff that I'm going through. He's like, let's shoot this little 2-minute cool video, a little shot to the Olympics. So if you have time, go to YouTube and type in Let Leeper Run.
We actually, our podcast just followed you on Twitter, and we were actually your 5,000 followers. So that was
awesome. That's so awesome.
But yeah, we really appreciate it. This was super fun. We're really excited to share your story. It was an honor, really, to even hear it. And yeah, like we said, we are very inspired.
Yeah, and thank you guys so much for for the platform, and just listen to me, allow me to tell my story, and hopefully if it's just one person kind of gain something from our conversation today, I feel like we made a difference, today. So thank you guys for what you're doing. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for joining us. This is why we get so excited to do this, because we get to talk to awesome people.
All right, today on Boom, we're super excited to be talking with Lasse Madsen, who is an athlete, an author, and also has a background in civil engineering and product design. So we're really excited to hear about your story because in addition to being a man of many talents, you also have an above-the-knee prosthesis. You've started sharing your story, and it's been really inspiring to many people, and we're hoping to get a bit of background on your story on the podcast.
So basically, I've been a gymnast for my whole life since I was 3 years old. But then when I was 14, I lost my leg in a traffic accident. And at the accident, it was actually below the knee, but my knee was broken so bad that they had to take it above the knee. And as you can imagine, as a 14-year-old kid, this is a completely new life situation where I didn't know really what to do, but I had this one burning desire that was completely indiscussible for me, and that was to be able to go back to the gymnastics. And I think that goal and that dream of going back to the gymnastics, standing in front of the crowd, being able to do what other people and normal people did with the prosthesis, it was that goal that kept me going. So after getting out of the hospital, I spent a year in training and rehabilitation with this one goal in mind, that after 1 year I would be able to start at the school that I have always been signed up for, which is a school focusing only on gymnastics for a year.
Wow.
That's really astounding and like kind of amazing that you were able to hold this goal like in mind and focus on it. Because I'm just wondering, how did you sort of maintain hope to like achieve this goal? And maybe were there like other examples or role models of people that you'd seen like sort of recover from an amputation, or like what really, like, or was it just holding the goal sort of in mind that kept you motivated?
It's a good question, actually. At that time when I lost my leg, I was trying to find other people that I could relate to. And being 14 years old, finding in Denmark, finding a person that I can relate to that is in the same situation as me, also active in sports. We only have 6 million people in the country, so finding that was very unlikely. And I didn't manage to find another person that I could talk to in this situation at that time. So that is also one of the reasons why I'm doing this.
Yeah. So you're using Instagram specifically to motivate people. What are some ways in which you've chosen to motivate other people through Instagram, and why you choose to do that?
So my journey on Instagram, it only started just a few months ago, but the reason for it actually goes way back. Since I lost my leg, I've been contacted by young people, by families who wanted guidance in the time after being amputated. And I've been doing that for 14, 15 years now. And I've started out by helping these people by taking, you can say, one-to-one conversations, either meeting up with them in person or over Skype. Half a year ago, I was thinking, how can I reach more people than these one-to-one conversations? So this led me to sitting down and writing a book on the topic. So how did I get through my amputation, both physically and mentally? And when I launched the book on Amazon, nothing really happened because I knew that I had to reach people in some way. So that was actually the reason for me starting the Instagram. I was thinking, how can I get my message out to people? So 1.5 months ago, I started my Instagram called Landing on My Feet. And I started to take pictures and shoot some videos of me doing very basic stuff, just sitting on my bike, walking up and down stairs. And it gained a massive interest in very, very little time. And I guess when people are cheering you up and saying, "Oh, what you're doing is great, keep on doing it," that is really what keeps me motivated.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of both ways, right? Like people are motivating to you, but you're also like extremely motivating to others. So I really love that. It's like a two-way street.
It definitely is. And what is starting to happen now is that after 1.5 months, having posted how I do fitness, how I do different sports, what happens now is that people, they start to send me direct messages and say, I have a goal of using my prosthesis for 4 hours every day this month. Can I share my story with you so I can use you as a follow-up tool? And I think it's great. Some people, they are not the best at motivating themselves. So if I can be that extrinsic motivation that helps them, it's just super cool.
That's really amazing. Actually, we were looking at your Instagram and you started a hashtag challenge for November, which is really cool. So will you talk about that and kind of what the hopes are for this?
Did you come up with this hashtag challenge too? That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So what I've found through my 1.5 months of doing Instagram is that the community of amputees within Instagram is a really engaging and very helpful community. People, they are engaging on each other's posts. They are asking questions. They want to learn how other people are going through their life with their prosthesis. So I got this idea to launch a hashtag challenge called AMP Goal, short for amputation goal. And basically what I want to do here is to reach every single level of prosthetics users out there. It can be everything from a person who is in bed almost full time to a person that is running a marathon with a prosthesis every month. No matter what level you are at, you always have a chance to develop yourself further. And what I find out there is that there's so much potential out there. Sometimes they just need a little inspiration and a little push in the right direction in order to achieve amazing goals. And that is what I want to do with this hashtag challenge. Meet people where they are and then create a community around it to be able to encourage each other.
Yeah, and I think that's really great that you've made the format so that really accessible so that anyone can be part of it, and like building community around everyone's unique goals is just really amazing. So that's awesome.
And in addition to doing the daily activities, so on the cover of your book, you're doing gymnastics. So it kind of like, I don't know, I guess we didn't really circle back to the fact that you were able to do gymnastics again, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really amazing.
Yeah. And kind of speaking of that, I'm just wondering, as far as like your own personal journey, like how were you able to sort of trust in like your prosthesis and your body to do the movements you wanted to? Like, was it just through training, or like you're doing some really extreme sports like gymnastics, even skiing?
Yeah, this is one of the things that is hard to explain as an amputee, because I feel that my prosthesis is an integrated part of me. I don't think about how I move that much. If I'm walking down a stair, I'm not thinking about, okay, I need to put my foot here in order for my prosthesis to react like that. So when you reach that level of feeling that your prosthesis is an integrated part of me, this is where I would say you have come a really far way. Actually, I am in a condition where even if I'm standing on a very small, a small stone, I can feel it. I can feel that something is different. And I can feel if I'm stepping on other people's toes. So I do trust my prosthesis very, very much. And I think it's a combination of the years of experience, first of all, that I have with my prosthesis. And second of all, I listened to my physiotherapist and my prosthetist when they said to me, Lasse, you have to do the training. You have to do it over and over again. And if you just take your leg, bring it back home, and you don't do the training and you just start walking, you might learn some really bad habits, and they are super hard to unlearn. So my family was really good at that time at encouraging me to stick to the program that my prosthetist and my physiotherapist gave me. And I think in combination with my years of doing gymnastics, so with a good balance and with a good feeling of where my body is, those things combined is making me trust my prosthetic leg at the level that I'm doing today.
That's amazing. So what do you think is next for you on your journey?
Yeah, I would definitely like to continue motivating others, and especially through action, because I believe that many amputees, they have a huge possibility of doing, whatever their desire is. And often I see that it's themselves that are holding them back. It's a limiting belief that if they just start to do something, they will actually figure out and see that there is a way, and they can go skiing, and they can go do a yoga class, and they can be a runner if they want to, and they can go pick up their bicycle that has been standing in the garage for the past 7 years. It's just doing it and asking for help. And I think
that first step is the hardest.
Yeah, this has been super inspirational, and you've given a lot of advice for what others can do when they feel challenged to do something. And I was wondering, I mean, you have to have those days too, right? When things feel challenging. And I was wondering, like, what you do when you have those days. What kind of gets you out of that and gets you going?
Yeah. So if you look at my Instagram, it looks like I'm this super amputee, but most definitely, I have bad days as well. I have days with intense pain. I have days where I don't fit my prosthesis. So, in other words, the body is changing, but your prosthesis is not changing. So if I gain or lose muscle, if I gain or lose muscle, if I gain or lose weight, I'm having issues as well. And that is what you don't see on Instagram. So what I'm trying to do whenever I have these days is to identify that I'm on my way into this downward spiral. And then I will do everything I can to break it. And I have a really nice girlfriend who who is saying to me, okay, Lasse, maybe you should eat a little bit more now because you're talking about that you're losing weight, and when you're losing weight, you will not be able to fit your prosthesis, and then you have to go to your prosthetist and you have to redo it. So she's super helpful, super encouraging, and she's helping me, keep the level that I am at right now.
Wow, that's it. Yeah, that's really beautiful. Like, and I feel like that's a good lesson for all of us that like there's a lot we can do on ourselves to motivate ourselves, but really it's the support of other people that kind of helps give you that little extra bit and keep you on track. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. And also, when it was not easy in the beginning, so losing a leg at 14 years old, my family was obviously very supportive. And my father, he did this one thing where he said, so if I said, okay, I can't do this, he made a rule. So for every time that I said, I can't do this, I had to find 2 things that I could do. And he would force me to sit down, and then he would say, okay, so now you've just said this one thing that you can't do. Now we will sit here and we will find 2 things that you can do. So this little rule kept me motivated and focused on the positive side instead of the negative side. And there was a very, very strong support from him that I have used until this day, and I'm still using it.
I love that. I think we should all challenge ourselves to like to do that every time there's a negative thought. Like try to come up with 2 positives. Focus on maybe our strengths more than what we're not so good at. Well, thanks for chatting with us. I think our last and one of our favorite questions that we like to ask people that we talk to is just, what are you excited about for the future of, and usually we say the future of biomechanics because we talk to people who do research in biomechanics, but for you, you can kind of fill that blank with whatever. It could be for the future of improvements of prosthetics. It could be the future of just athletes, of accessibility. It can really, what are you excited about for the future, I would say?
Yeah. I have this one thing, and I need you to help me say it in a way, because I know how to say it in Danish, but I don't know how to say it in English. So it's so today my prosthesis is reactive, right? It's I'm moving and it's following. So what I'm really excited about is the day that I will be able to either use my muscles or my mind or whatever to lift my leg, for instance.
So instead of it being more of a passive device, actually have it more interacting and active with your body.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we should send you along. There's some new research and sort of going in that direction. And I think we're actually going to talk to someone who's had a special surgery that actually is more in alignment with that type of integration of their prosthetic with their biological, signaling. So I think that cool. I think we're moving in that direction, which is exciting.
Yeah, it is really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm envisioning that in 10, 15, 20 years from now, we will start to see that the level of prosthetics is at a level where people with normal limbs will say, I want that.
Yeah.
That'd be cool, right?
Wow, that'd be amazing.
Very cool.
and we'll be starting to chopping off our arms and legs in order to be enhanced, right?
Yeah. Wow.
It's it isn't impossible. So thank you so much, Lassie, for sharing your story with us. And for those listeners who want to learn more about Lassie and his story, you can read his book, Landing on My Feet, a personal story about overcoming the mental and physical journey of amputation, which is available on Amazon. And you can also find Lassie on Instagram at Landing on My Feet. And if you have an amputation, or if you know someone who is an amputee, you should definitely join Lassie in his hashtag challenge, which is hashtag AmpGoal, AmpGoal. And it is going to be a really awesome challenge through November that I think will be really inspiring to a lot of people. So thanks for starting that up, and thanks for sharing your story with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for reaching out and letting me share my story through your channel.
So since it's November, the month of Thanksgiving, Hannah and I are going to do something different instead of research fails, and do our something that's been really important to us, and that's doing gratitude reflections, and so we're gonna share our reflections on what we're grateful for. Hannah, you want to start us off?
Sure. Well, I'm really grateful for, I would just say, the awesome support system I have, and that just includes all of the different people in my life and amazing resources and things that I have access to and feel very blessed to have. So a big thank you for all of that. And people like Melissa.
I'm
just
thankful for
laugh
you.
at my jokes, even when they're not funny.
Yeah, I would probably have to say something similar, just like very grateful for my family, and my friends, both like at home and back in Ohio. So I feel like they just help keep me grounded and help me, stay connected to my roots. And then also like the friends I have out here who I feel like are always pushing me to just be the best that I can. And yeah, and friends like you who I have like all aspects of to do like fun like academic things with, and Hannah and I like go out dancing together, which is like I'm so grateful.
Yeah, if you're
for.
at ISB, you know.
We like to hit up the dance floor. But yeah, and my health, not maybe right now I have a bit of a cold, but I feel like other than that, I'm grateful for that. And I was thinking like there's like some jazz music playing right now, and it's really making me laugh.
We're in a studio.
While I was sick last week, I was thinking just about how I'm blessed to have an advisor who I felt like if I told him I was sick, he would tell me to prioritize my health and get better and not worry about my work. And I feel like just hearing that voice in the back of my head was like really comforting, and like knowing that people care about like my health and like well-being, above work-related things is important. And so I was feeling blessed for that. So I was thinking too, like a week, okay, I might like add an extra time on to my PhD when I take time off, but like your PhD is just only for a certain period of time, and like your body and your health, that's with you forever. And I just like don't feel like it's worth not having like doing the best for your body. So anyway,
can I add to that?
Yeah,
our advisor has a really great thing that I felt so thankful for the other day, that he said people are greater than papers, like he kind of used the greater than sign, and that's just so important to remember. He actually used two of them, I think. That I think sometimes it's easy to get lost in feeling like, oh, I just have to finish this thing, or oh my gosh, I don't have enough time. But really, at the core of it all, like, people are the most important thing, and health and well-being. Because without those things, we really can't survive and go on. And
right.
Yeah. Thanks for taking time to remind us all of that and focus on it.
We love, this isn't like the first time Hannah and I talk about what we're thankful for a lot, because I think it helps us stay, in touch with who we are and remember how lucky we are. So we would encourage you to do the same, do a gratefulness reflection, maybe reflect on a few things that you're grateful for right now, and then share it with someone that you care about, someone that you're thankful for, and just spread the gratitude.
Yeah. And they say if you make this part of your daily practice, you can change actually how your brain is wired in just a minimum, just like a week or something. It's really short. So
if you do gratitude reflections
every
daily.
day. Yeah. So go for it. Definitely. I feel like, like Melissa said, it really makes you happier and keeps you grounded in perspective.
Well, thanks for listening. I'm Melissa Boswell.
I'm Hannah O'Day. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can check us out at Biomechanics OOM.
And if you have any questions, concerns, if you want to be on the podcast or on Student Voices, which series? Why are you laughing? Oh my God.
Please be on Student Voices just so that we can hear the jingle that Melissa made.
Don't tell everyone. That's not me.
Sorry, the jingle that an anonymous participant made.
Anyway, if you want to talk to us, send us a research fail, you can email us at biomechanicsonOurminds@gmail.com. And don't forget to, if you enjoyed the podcast, please, rate us, review us
right
on, yes, thank you, on Apple iTunes or whatever, podcast.
Only rate us if you're going to rate positive, though.
Obviously.
Like 5 stars, please. Just kidding. Be honest. We can take it. And a big, huge thank you, speaking of being grateful, for the awesome music that you hear throughout the episode. And that's made by Peter Washington here at Stanford.
Mm-hmm. And this podcast is brought to you by the International Society of Biomechanics, so we thank them for their support.
Biomechanics off our minds.